even I don't even want to go back over there. Or,
So you don't know if you're even going to be able to go home tonight.
no, I don't. I don't know at all. But I'm gonna stay with some of my friends, and maybe I'll be okay with doing that.
Now, at some point, you're going to be allowed back into your dorm. Talk to me about knowing that there was an active shooter in there. What are your thoughts, feelings on going back and living there for the rest of the year?
Um, I definitely have to persevere, or even like think think better thoughts when going into the building. I'm gonna try not to let this halt my year or my academics. Um, it's definitely gonna be hard, but I just hope that with good support system around me, and if everybody's doing it together, I think I can be okay.
Okay. Well, David and Jason, I'm so glad you guys are okay and that you've alerted your parents and your families that you're okay. Thank you so much for sharing your stories. I'm sorry you had to go through this, and I'm sorry we had to report on something like this, but thank you for sharing your stories. So, again, these stories, and these are just a few of some of the hundreds, maybe even thousands of stories of people who are at this event and heard, witnessed, and or saw the shooting and its aftermath. And of course, we were bringing the very latest on exactly what happened as we get it.
Okay. Kim Dacey talking to David and Jason, also students who apparently live in the building where they believe a shooter ran into that was being cleared by police.
Baltimore police officials now confirming this incident is no longer considered an active shooter situation. Everyone is still asked to shelter in place. A media briefing will occur soon. We want to send it out to Tommy Clark, who has some new information for us. Tommy?
Yeah, the new information is that this is no longer an active shooter situation, thankfully. So we've also heard that hopefully, not firm, but hopefully in the next hour, we will be hearing from police here at this corner where we have been for a couple hours now, waiting to hear from them. At 10:01, police said that they were going to meet us here to speak with us soon to chat about what exactly happened here. You can see we have an ambulance coming in. We've been watching as emergency vehicles have been driving in and out of this area. I've been seeing a couple dozen police cruisers. We saw the mobile command unit for fire just exit this area and up this hill down Argonne. That's where this situation is unfolding. Our Kim Dacey's on the other side speaking with students. We're over here because police should be coming here hopefully in the next hour to speak with us about this incident. But again, police saying here they are confirming this incident is no longer considered an active shooter situation. Everyone is still asked to shelter in place. They say a media briefing will occur soon. We still are seeing students waiting out on the sidewalk here, police still blocking off this street. We're just waiting. As soon as police get here, we're going to cross that street and speak with the public information officer and bring you that live with the latest details. Back to you.
Tommy, thank you. Tommy reporting that police no longer consider this to be an active situation. She is waiting for a Baltimore City Police news conference to give us the latest. And we have anchor Kai Reed in here. You just talked to police.
I just spoke with Vernon Davis, and I can give some perspective here because he did confirm no longer an active situation. But of course, then I asked, is the suspect in custody? He said no, he cannot confirm that his suspect is in custody. I also asked him about there has been some talk on Twitter and social media about multiple shooters. Yes. He would not confirm that. He said that he has no, frankly, he didn't know where that's coming from.
Okay.
So he said that, yes, no longer an active situation, but a suspect is not in custody. And also they are hoping to get a news conference out here sometime in the next half hour to 45 minutes, he said.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kai.
Kai Reed, working this story from the newsroom as we wait for the Baltimore City Police Department to hold this news conference about what was once an active shooter situation, which is no longer an active shooting situation, according to Baltimore City Police, who confirmed to us earlier that at least 4 students were shot outside of a dorm on Argonne Drive. According to Kai Reed, police do not have a suspect in custody, and the reports of multiple shooters, that was not confirmed by Vernon Davis to Kai Reed.
And to clarify, when this all first emerged as a terrifying situation on Morgan's campus, there was that initial gunfire, and then the information from the school that there was an active shooter. But by all accounts, this was not a situation where someone was going from building to
Right.
building firing a weapon. This was there was an initial number of shots fired, 4 students injured. We're told none critically. There is some discussion on social media that there was a 5th individual injured, but we will get that clarified from officials shortly. But we know clarified and we know confirmed that 4 students shortly after this homecoming situation at the Murphy Fine Arts Center, where a Mr. and Mrs. Morgan are unveiled for, as one student said, for family to celebrate around them. So we do know that this is unfortunately a situation that happened in a homecoming celebration and homecoming week at Morgan State. We are waiting to hear from authorities how this did resolve, because we know that it is no longer an active shooter situation, but we don't have a suspect in custody, and that is according to our colleague Kai Reed. So a lot there to flesh out.
And speaking of the victims, earlier, police did say at least 4 students shot.
Correct. Good point.
Suffering from non-life-threatening injuries. So again, we are waiting for this news conference so that we can get all the latest information. And that's what happens in breaking news situations. The information is fluid, it changes, and that's why authorities take their time sometimes before they step in front of the microphones to talk to us. They want to talk to witnesses and get a firm grasp on shooting suspects, shooting victims. And as of right now, according to police, at least 4 students were shot suffering from non-life-threatening injuries. And Kai Reed, our colleague, talking to Vernon Davis, saying that there is no suspect in custody right now, but there's also no multiple shooting suspects out there.
Let's remind families also where they can go. We have a map of that Safeway on Harford Road, and this is the family meeting area at that Safeway, where there will be police officials there to help the families who are trying to get additional information about their loved ones. But we do know this appears to be resolving, and we're waiting for that information. I tell you, I was really struck by that student who said that, as often we report, who said that they thought this was fireworks, and when they realized that it was gunfire, his words, fear set in.
Fear set in. We've been hearing that a lot tonight from young people that we're talking to about the fear.
The fear.
You know, they were once celebrating. One moment they're celebrating, they're being students. We were all students once, and you're on campus and you're having fun, especially this week of homecoming week. And then next thing you know,
you're running for your life.
You're running for literally running for your life. You don't know what's going to happen.
And then the reality of getting on the phone and trying to call your family members or trying to reach your friends on campus. And as one student said, the cell phones start glitching and you're unable to connect. And the one student who said his sister's a police officer who came to campus to search for him. And you can only imagine what that was like, both for him and for her and for their parents. But he is safe, and she is probably there being part of the investigation into what happened, which we still only have just these initial reports of something that broke out around 9:30 tonight on Morgan State's campus.
And you talk about the young people trying to get in touch with their loved ones. What about the loved ones trying to get in touch with their kids? And they can't because, as the students were telling us, the cell phones were glitching.
We also know from our colleague, Phil Yakubowski in WBAL Radio, who let us know that they are expecting both the mayor and the new police commissioner to be at that press conference. I'm sure we'll be joined by Morgan State Police, perhaps most likely also Morgan State's president and other officials from that campus there, as they announce what happened, as they give us a sense of where they go from here on campus. Because you have the investigation by the police, and then you have the campus that has to handle a terrified student body and how to calm those nerves of both your students and your faculty, your staff, and your family members.
As we look at these live pictures of the Morgan State University campus, we're 4 minutes away from midnight as we wait for this news conference. Phil Yakubowski saying that the mayor and the newly voted in Police Commissioner Richard Worley will be in attendance of this news conference so we can get the latest on what has happened. Probably around 2.5 hours ago now. We probably started covering this in the newsroom around 9:30 tonight when we started to get reports of a shooting. And then we got word that students were shot, and then we got confirmation from police that at least 4 students were shot outside of a dorm on Argonne Drive on the campus of Morgan State University. As we look at these live pictures at the intersection of Argonne Drive and Hillen Road as we wait for this news conference.
There's a group on Twitter called MSU Followers, Morgan State University Followers, and they tweeted tonight, "Our campus needs a lot of healing right now.
Wow.
Current and alumni are facing entirely too much tragedy in a season that's supposed to be filled with nostalgia and love." So that really gives you a sense of just the pain and the trauma of what has happened here tonight. Again, we're still waiting to hear from authorities the update and to pass that information on to you. We do appreciate you staying with us. We have not covered any other news in the past hour and a half. This is okay. All right. We do have a new tweet from Baltimore Police. Andre, if you want to go ahead and take a look at that.
This is from the Baltimore Police Department. BPD officials are now confirming that this incident is no longer considered an active shooter situation. Everyone is still asked to shelter in place. A media briefing will occur soon. And we, of course, are waiting for that media briefing to take place. Our colleague Phil Yakubowski on the radio side said that the mayor and the police commissioner will be at this news conference to let us know what has happened on the campus of Morgan State University. So that you were reading that tweet from the group that follows Morgan State, and they were talking about this was supposed to be a week of reminiscing nostalgia. This is homecoming week. There are events planned all week leading up to the game and homecoming on Saturday. So, and they talked about current students and alumni. This is, and one of the Regina, who was talking to our Kim Dacey, was talking about alumni from the 60s and 70s. Come to the campus, and the 80s, 90s, and the thousands, and the current students.
It's a major event in Baltimore.
Huge.
This is a major event, and the Morgan State President Wilson, now will have a very tough week on his hand, trying to figure out how he addresses the student body and their families and how they move forward in what was to be a celebratory week. And I'm sure he will be visiting students in the hospital at bedside as he checks in with them to find out how they are doing, both physically and mentally. So again, we're just looking at our live pictures of the campus of Morgan State University, where we've been following all evening, and we're waiting for a press conference. As you can see the podium there. It began as an active shooter where at least 4 students were shot on campus. We are told the active shooter situation has been resolved. We don't know how. We don't know who the suspect is. We are just waiting to find out exactly what happened and what the investigation is showing at this hour.
It's interesting you talk about Dr. Wilson, who's always talking about this campus in Morgan State University, and he often refers to it by the nickname National Treasure. And it is a national treasure. There are alumni all across the country who graduated from Morgan State, and they're proud of Morgan State. How many times are you driving around and you see license plates with Morgan State on it, banners in front of people's row homes, and all over town you see alumni, and not just here in Baltimore, people from all across the country who have gone to Morgan State and cherish it.
Bear-sized pride, right? Bear-sized pride.
And I see what you did there.
Yeah, Brandon Scott, the mayor, has now tweeted, "I am on the scene at Morgan State with university leadership, BPD, and our federal and state law enforcement partners. This is no longer considered an active shooter situation, but is an ongoing investigation. Media briefing to come soon," he says.
So Mayor Brandon Scott confirming what we've been reporting, that he will be in attendance at this media briefing. Our colleague Phil Yakubowski saying that the Police Commissioner Richard Worley will also be there, and certainly Morgan State officials will be on hand as well to answer the questions that, of course, we, the media, and the parents and the students and the staff and alumni will have about what has happened on the campus of Morgan State University this evening. As we looked at that video of the chopper above, Our colleague Kyrie talking to Vernon Davis saying that there is no suspect in custody. However, police, the mayor, now saying that this is no longer an active shooter situation. So we're still trying to ascertain as to what is going on with a shooting suspect. Hopefully we'll hear from authorities in this news conference soon.
Well, and our colleague, Rachel Duncan, one of our producers, has just sent me a text saying that a student is still sheltering in place on campus. So we're hoping to speak to that student, waiting for some information, trying to get his phone number. But so students are still sheltering in place right now. So we're sort of in this, but
as the university is telling them to do.
Right.
Even though it's no longer an active shooting situation, the university and police are still urging students to shelter in place.
Let's go back to Tommy Clark, who was on the scene there. Tommy, what do you know?
Well, again, this is no longer, important to note, no longer an active shooter situation. We now know the mayor is here, the commissioner, newly appointed commissioner. We're going to be speaking with them at this corner you see behind me here. This is where we've been for the past couple hours. We have crews all over this scene right now. We were on this side here at Hillen in Argonne. We are told that hopefully within the hour, we will be speaking with those officials to get the complete picture here. But we've been listening to witnesses. Our Kim Dacey has been speaking with them. They say they were at a coronation event. Of course, we've been saying it's homecoming. They say that let out, and they saw 2 gunshots hit a front window there. They say everyone started running and it was chaos. At first, they thought it was fireworks, but soon realized it was an active shooter situation. So those students have been calling their parents. We have students on this side of campus who cannot go back in because this street is blocked off. They've been here for a couple hours now, being told they need to stay here. They can not go back in at the moment. Of course, we said this is no longer an active shooter situation, but folks, students, they are being told to still shelter in place. Of course, we have Foxtrot overhead. We saw Fire Command. They have a big vehicle that just drove through here. We had a couple ambulances drive through as well. We have checked with the local hospitals. We've only received one response so far from Maryland Medical System. They're saying they can confirm they have not received any patients from this incident. Of course, we have confirmed from police, Vernon Davis with police, he says at least 4 students shot, non-life-threatening injuries. Again, this was a scary situation for students. We've been speaking with them on and off camera as they say, they were just at this homecoming event when this all started. They're now staying out here in a safe distance as police investigate this incident. And we did ask police. They said their broad estimation is they're hoping to speak with us in the next hour. The mayor did tweet recently saying he is here as well. He said, quote, "I am on scene at Morgan State with university leadership, BPD, and our federal and state law enforcement partners. This is no longer considered an active shooter situation, but is an ongoing investigation. Media briefing to come soon." So that is why we are at Argonne and Hillen here. We've been here for a couple of hours in a safe distance as police investigate this incident. We know at least 4 students shot with non-life-threatening injuries. And we are just waiting here to see what new information we can find out. And when we do, of course, we will bring it to you. Back to you.
I want to share. An educator just posted this on Twitter saying, I couldn't focus enough to finish grading my quizzes, so now I'm just laying in bed listening to helicopters, wondering what conversations I'm going to have with my seniors tomorrow as they're deep into the college application process. So there's this ripple effect when something like this happens. It affects Morgan, it affects Baltimore, it affects this particular educator and her students who are applying for college. It's a wide swath of people who feel this in all sorts of ways. But I tell you, my hearts are with those students who we spoke to earlier who were just so excited to be at school and to be celebrating this
Regina, David, Jason.
homecoming week. It's just awful. And my thoughts are with the families of these students who have been shot at. I mean, it's a really rough time for Morgan State University. Again, the podium set up there, waiting to hear from police and politicians officials from Morgan about what happened on the campus tonight.
You talk about our hearts go out to the students and the staff and the faculty and everybody affected. Like in those interviews that we were talking to those students earlier, like one of them, Jason, born and raised here in Baltimore. His parents live on the other side of town.
Yeah.
His sister is a police officer. He said, even though he's from the city, he was at Morgan State University wanting to be safe,
right?
Thinking
right.
that he was going to be, not thinking that he was going to be part of a shooting investigation.
Right.
And that is actually what happened tonight, where he's sheltering in place and his parents are trying to get in touch with him. He's trying to get in touch with his parents. His sister, who's a police officer, comes to the campus to find out what's going on with her brother. And he's with David, who lives in the dorm, where he believes that police were looking for a shooting suspect. Imani Regina attending the coronation ceremonies and then hearing gunshots and seeing people run.
I think we're going to go back out to Kim, who is joined by Imani and Regina, who have been sharing their thoughts on what happened tonight. Kim, we're going to send it back to you.
Yeah, Deborah, I was just talking with Regina and Imani off camera, and they were sharing with me that the university has a new policy this year for clear bags at certain events. Tell me about that.
So last week they made a decision to make you wear clear bags if you want to enter the football games. And it's just very interesting. They have to have a clear bag as people are able to walk in and out of campus whenever they please to with whatever items, and we don't know. So it's interesting.
So was there a clear bag policy in place for this particular event tonight?
No, not at all. We can wear what you want to wear. It's like best dressed. That's all the whole theme of today was, to wear your best items. It may be.
Talk to me about what you guys are feeling. I mean, you've had a couple of hours now to kind of reflect on this, and what you went through and what happened tonight. What are you thinking, Regina?
Honestly, I'm just really feeling for like our student body. This is supposed to be a night of celebration. We were celebrating our D9 organizations. We were celebrating, campus family coronation. We were supposed to be, inducting our Mr. and Mrs. And it's just very unfortunate that it had to turn into, such a violent event. And it's just very sad overall.
Have you guys had any more contact with some of your friends who were close to what happened? And what are they saying?
Pretty much everybody's at home, or like they're texting, making sure like, are you okay? Like my roommates texted me earlier, like, is everyone home? If not, where are you at? So just doing check-in still, just to make sure, like, are you mentally okay? Like, although physically you might be fine, but mentally this is very scary for all of us, not knowing what's happening next.
Now, Regina, you had said that one of your professors already emailed you about class tomorrow. Tell me about that.
So both of my classes for I think tomorrow and the day after were canceled already. They sent out, honestly, an email before campus did about the event, just praying that everyone was okay and letting them know to take tomorrow as a wellness day to, gather their thoughts and be around loved ones. So,
have you guys gotten any other official communication from the university since the original email that was sent out a while ago?
Unfortunately, no. I have not heard anything other than take shelter. And I guess probably in the morning, we'll probably get an email from our president telling us what's going to be the next steps within a few days.
Now, you said the president of the university was actually at this coronation event tonight. Tell me about that. And do you know if he was there at the time of the shooting?
He was a guest speaker. He was actually the last speaker to talk to us. And then everyone dispersed and went and took pictures. So I'm not sure if he was there. I'm going to assume that he was nearby. If not on campus grounds, I'm for sure that he was near it when it happened.
But nothing official from his office besides that email?
No, we haven't heard anything yet from anyone other than that one email from earlier.
Talk to me about the chatter on social media. I mean, I know, college students are very connected with technology. What's the chatter now? Has it died down a little bit since this first happened? And kind of what's being said? What's the word about town?
So I don't feel it's died down. I feel like it's still pretty active. A lot of people are still just trying to make sure everyone's still sheltered in place and letting them know that even though they're saying that it's no longer an active situation, that they are still requesting for everyone to shelter in place. I mean, we've even gotten some correspondence from our line sisters and sorors as well, letting us know that the campus is still enforcing that shelter in place policy for everyone to stay where they are.
Have you talked to any of your friends who are sheltering in place still, and what are they saying?
So for me, I have a lot of friends who are in off-campus apartments. So most of them, the first chance they got, they left. And the only person that was spoken to was one of her freshman friends who was still, sheltering under her bed. So
what do you make of this? They're saying that, there's no active shooter, but you still need to shelter in place. What do you make of that?
In my opinion, that means it's still an active shooter. Until you have someone and they're in custody, they're still roaming with a gun. We don't know who they are, what they look like. So we just don't know. Like, we could be next to somebody and you have no clue if they're the ones who are part of it. So it's very scary. So I don't think they shouldn't say it's no longer an active shooter, because we don't know anything currently.
Now we're here off campus, away from where this incident happened, in a safe location. But for you guys tonight, when you go home, what do you plan to do, or what precautions do you plan to put in place since this happened?
Well, I live right behind us, and there's some police over there actually. So I have to show them my bear card to even get in, to show that I am a student. And since she doesn't have hers, they're not even gonna let her through. So I'm gonna have to walk to my door, and then this thing's locked down. So it's gonna be very hard to get in and out. And we don't know what's gonna happen like by tomorrow. So I don't know how long we will be on lockdown or things like that. I have no clue.
Do you plan to shelter in place once you get home? Or?
Yes, definitely. So I actually do live pretty close to campus. I don't live in campus housing, however. So just definitely make sure all the doors are locked, and make sure all of my people are safe, and just wait till the morning to see what they say.
You guys gonna be able to sleep tonight after everything you've been through?
I'm gonna probably take a melatonin. Definitely gonna take a melatonin, because this is scary. My mom is so far away. Like, it's very lonely. Like, I don't like this. Hopefully we just have answers tomorrow, and hopefully they have the actual shooter and people can feel safer on campus once again.
Yeah, until they have a shooter in custody, how are you guys going to feel about going to campus?
I'm definitely on the fence about campus, especially because, like, as you said before, the clear bag policy, I don't really know how effective that can really be, since it's an open campus, and it's very clear that someone was able to get a gun onto school grounds right across the street within 30 feet of a police station. So how safe can we really be on Saturday with thousands of people roaming campus, and the only precaution is clear bags?
So you said this happened right across from the police station on campus?
Yep, less than 50
It's
feet.
the same size.
It's the exact same
Yeah,
size.
same size as the police station that it happened on.
That's why they were able to respond so quickly, because it was literally right across the street.
Wow. It sounds like it was a brazen act right in front of the police.
Yeah.
Okay, girls. Well, thank you so much for talking with us tonight. We really appreciate it, and I'm glad you guys are safe. And thank you for sharing your accounts. Again, just a harrowing night here at Morgan State University for everyone, especially the folks that were at that coronation ceremony. And of course, we're waiting for police to give us more information on exactly what is going on, but not an active shooter situation, but again, still asking those students to shelter in place. And of course, we will bring you the very latest as we get it.
Thank you, Kim. Yes, again, not an active shooter situation, but we don't know how the situation has resolved. And we know that the students are still being asked to shelter in place. It's incredibly unnerving. You can hear that in the students.
Sure.
They just feel like they just want answers.
Mhm.
And I can understand that. And again, we are awaiting that official press conference almost 2 hours after all this unfolded. On Morgan State.
The students are waiting for answers. Their parents are waiting for answers. The staff, alumni, all waiting for answers as to what has happened on the campus of Morgan State University during homecoming week. I'm just looking at this flyer showing all the events that were planned from Sunday through Sunday. Those young ladies that Kim was talking to, Regina and Amani, they were attending the Mr. and Miss Morgan State University coronation, school days in quotes. That evokes a Spike Lee movie that dealt with Greek-lettered organizations on HBCU campuses. So these young ladies and many students tonight were going to basically see the coronation of Mr. and Mrs. Morgan State University.
And told to wear their best clothes,
Told to
show up your
dress
best dressed.
in their best, which they did.
Yeah.
And 1 minute they're celebrating. This is homecoming.
Yeah.
This is homecoming. We're alumni from decades past, all the way up to the present, come to Morgan State University to celebrate the national treasure, as it is known. And then at least 4 students are shot outside of a dorm, according to police. We are still waiting for this news conference with the mayor and the police commissioner to tell us what has happened there. And we could see that Councilwoman Odette Ramos is on the scene right now, talking to investigators right now as we wait for this news conference with city leaders.
And she had said to us on the phone a short time ago that this is just an extremely traumatic evening for the campus and for the city as a whole. And her constituents are concerned. They're concerned about what happened tonight. she was awaiting that information as well, wasn't able to share with great detail, but said that she knew that the police were had this perimeter set up and that they were trying to identify a suspect. We know that, and we don't even know if the shooter is a student or is not. There were some reports that there was more than one shooter. That has not been confirmed. We do know that when this happened, there was an initial round of gunfire, but that it wasn't something that continued throughout the campus at different locations. It was, I think when you say active shooter, that connotes that that it is something that is happening at multiple locations. But it appears to have been one location, which led to the wounding of 4 students. We don't know their age. We don't know what year. We know it seems like none of the students went to shock trauma based on what we heard from Tommy, and we do know that they did not suffer life-threatening injuries. Again, does not mean it's not a life-altering situation and such trauma. We're going to go back to Tommy.
Yeah, let's do that.
Hey guys, yeah, we are here at Argonne and we are still waiting for police to see if we can speak with them at this corner here. But of course, we've been speaking with students. They say some students have posted videos of SWAT going through the Thurgood Marshall apartment building after that shooting. We know many students were on lockdown there, sheltering in place, while others are out here on the sidewalk waiting to go back into campus. We haven't seen any new police cruisers in a while. We've been watching as they have been going back and forth. We see that we do have a big media presence here, all waiting to speak with police and get any new details. Of course, the latest we have is at least 4 students shot, non-life-threatening injuries. We've been speaking with students on the side here. One of them was showing me what our Kim Dacey also saw an email from the university telling them to shelter in place and telling them what they know about this situation. Again, this was a coronation event for homecoming, and students say it was afterward when they were leaving that event that gunshots started ringing. Everyone started running. They thought it was fireworks, and they soon found out it was an active shooter situation. We do still have Foxtrot going in circles around this campus. Odette Ramos told us that she has been told that all resources are being concentrated on campus as they search for this shooter. The last thing she heard is that they were searching for the shooter on campus. And we heard from police, they're hoping within the next hour to speak with us. That would probably be about the next 30 minutes now, since they told us that a while ago. So still hoping to get any new information that we can. The mayor is here. We're hearing that the newly confirmed commissioner is here as well. And we are at the corner where they're going to meet us and give us an update as soon as they can. And we're going to stay here and bring you any new information. But for now, back to you.
Tommy Clark, thank you very much, reporting from the intersection of Argonne Drive and Hillen Road.
We have a student on the phone with us, Cam Potts, who used to work here at WBAL TV. Cam, how are you doing? Where are you right now on campus?
Hi, everyone. I'm doing well, given the circumstances, but I'm currently at the Murphy Fine Arts Center. We're actually just leaving now to go to our cars, to travel back to where we were coming from. We were sheltered in place, but seems like it's now just been lifted recently.
The shelter in place, as far as you're concerned, has been lifted.
Yes, where we are.
Okay,
yes,
where you
but
are.
I was sheltered in the Murphy Fine Arts Center, and they just gave us notification that we can safely go back to our cars and travel back to where we need to be to get to, our homes.
Okay.
You were there supporting friends this evening. Can you tell us what you initially saw and heard when this all started to unfold?
Yep. So I was here to support friends and family for the homecoming's coronation of Mr. and Miss Morgan State University. And directly following the event, I was just saying hi to some friends in the hallway area. And it sounded and felt like an earthquake. And I was like, what is this? And it was actually the aftermath of the commotion, the students running and everything. And from there, I was just like, what is going on? And yeah, people started just saying something is going on. It's an active shooter or something. And from there, we were just trying to calm everyone down and say, everything's going to be okay. Let's band together, stay put, don't move. And that's kind of like how that situation played out from there.
So do you have any sense of exactly what happened tonight? The commotion, that sound was the commotion of just the chaos that was unfolding. But do you have any information confirmed, please, Cam, of what may have happened on campus? How this all played out?
Yeah, I'm not too, I can't confirm right now what happened for sure. I do know that there was just an active shooter situation that took place. Don't know which direction it came from or how it all played out. But I'm sure that in the coming hours, police will be able to give, further updates from what actually happened, as it is still an active investigation.
Cam, it's been a while since we've seen you. You're alumni, right?
Yes, I'm alumni, graduated class of 2020.
2020. As an alumnus coming back to the campus to celebrate homecoming, how are you doing right now? How are you feeling? And walk us through what's going on with you right now.
Yeah, definitely. This is definitely disheartening. I will say this is definitely not the spirit of Morgan State University. I was here, of course, for 4 years, and I lived and breathed Morgan. I was invested every step of the way, and this definitely is disheartening as an alumni to see. But one thing I do realize is the importance is just sticking together, staying together, praying for each other, praying for the community, because the world is, getting worse, and all we can do is really just keep each other lifted. So I'm hoping as an alumni, I can just continue to keep my friends, families, those in the community encouraged that despite situations that happened this evening, we will push forward to a better future here.
Cam, my apologies. When you were here, you were a student, so time has passed. I apologize. Yes. I apologize for that. And I appreciate your comments tonight. Can you describe for us what it was like while you were all holed up in the Murphy Fine Arts Center waiting for information, what that scene was like emotionally as you all shared this experience together?
Yes. So I will just honestly say, when all of this was happening, and even while it was happening, we were in a room actually in prayer and in worship, singing songs and lifting up prayer and different things like that. So honestly, although everything was happening, and although people were frantic and anxious, emotionally, all we could do was really just surrender and pray and pray that everything would be okay, despite the situation that we were in. We even had people that were running into the choir. We were in the choir room actually, and people were running into the choir room, crying and saying something's going on, something's wrong. And so we told them everything's going to be okay. If you want to stay in here, stay in here. This is a safe space. This is a safe place. So that's what we did. We didn't allow the moment to affect us the way that it could have. We just emotionally, gave into just the place of spirit of prayer and just allow that to take over really in that place. Yeah.
Talk about that.
Wow.
One moment you're in song and prayer, and the next moment you're comforting people running to you seeking shelter.
Yes. There were people that actually at one point they actually could hear the music. They could hear people singing, people praying, and so they all they felt led to come into the space, and we encouraged them. Everything's going to be okay as long as we stick together, we stay together, and we encourage each other. There's nothing that we cannot get through. So that's really how that played out.
Cam, when you worked here at WBAL, you worked on our assignment desk, and your job was to respond to events like this and to
Yes.
send reporters and to send photographers to cover events like this. And so now you find yourself living inside this event. How do you even reconcile those two experiences for you, and living this as you did tonight?
Certainly. Well, I'll say it's because of that, the being able to respond to crisis. When I was faced with this situation, I was prepared to offer assistance where needed. So that way, those around me knew that everything would be okay. So my first instinct was checking with everyone around me. Are you okay? What can I do to assist you? Whether that be having a conversation or singing a song, whatever that may be. But I think being able to experience that on the assignment desk at the station, being able to act on your feet in the area of crisis, I was prepared in this moment. It was a setup, right in its correct, well, right in its own timing. And so, while this shouldn't have happened at all, and it's definitely devastating, I think that with what I've experienced over the past few years, and even what I've experienced at the station, prepared me for this very moment. So, yeah, it was definitely surreal, because I remember being in cases where breaking news would break out, and I would have to answer and respond and send reporters to the scene. And now being in the middle of it, it's definitely a shock, a culture shock, but that prepares you for that moment, and you just learn how to arise to the occasion and do what you need to do.
Well, Cam, it's not shocking to us to see that you actually played the role of comforter and offered a sense of calm in that situation there, because Deborah and I were able to see what you did on the assignment desk, and we were both very impressed with you. You're a fine young man, and it's unfortunate that we have to speak to you under these circumstances, but it is no shock to us that you were able to serve as that point person in this crisis.
Dare I ask, Cam, if some of these moments inside when you were all praying together, if you, as a news person, and I know you still are a news person, if you recorded some of those moments?
Yes, I can definitely check with some of my friends. I know some of them were actually recording, so I'll see if I can gather up some of that and get that over to you all. It was definitely a special moment.
Yeah,
wow,
that had to be. Thank you, Cam. We are so glad to hear you are doing okay. We appreciate you spending the time talking with us, and we hope you get home safely this evening, and that Morgan is able to recover the rest of this week and to get back to celebrating the history of this university.
And thank you for what you did tonight, serving as that comfort person and that point person and that sense of calm in the middle of that crisis and chaos.
Yes.
Thanks, Cam.
Yes, no problem. It was a pleasure speaking with you all. I just want to say Morgan is better together than separate. And I believe as we continue to, encourage each other and be there for each other, as I mentioned before, we will see a greater future than we've ever seen before. So thank you so much.
Cam, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Be well this evening.
Yes, thank you. Take care.
All right, you too.
As we look at these live pictures, it's just about to be 12:30 on Wednesday morning. We are looking at live pictures of the campus of Morgan State University. This is Argonne Drive and Hillen Road, as we are waiting for a news conference to be delivered by the mayor and the commissioner. We're about now 3 hours away from the initial incident. We started running around the newsroom around 9:30 or so, and so now it is now 12:30 as we are awaiting a news conference to give us the latest as to what happened on this campus. Police say that it is no longer an active shooting situation, which is how they characterized it when they first responded to the 1700 block of Argonne Drive. No longer an active shooting situation, according to police.
Sorry, I was just texting Tommy, had some additional information, so she's going to clarify that for us. I have to tell you, I'm surprised it is taking this long to to
Same
have
here, right?
this. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Same here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm surprised it is taking this long to have this news conference when we did get this sense within I lost track of time here the last half hour that things were, they didn't use the word resolved, but it felt like it was resolved. And now we hear from CAM that they're letting students leave
Right.
the Murphy Fine Arts Center after they were sheltering in place, that it is no longer considered an active shooter situation. So looks like we have Tommy Clark standing by live for us. Tommy, do you have some new information for us?
Well, we still have emergency vehicles going in and out of this area. We now also have this bus here. The bus driver says he was called here to pick up students. We know that some are being let out of where they were being sheltering in place. So this bus driver tells us that he was called here to pick up some students. Of course, we're seeing lots of vehicles go in and out of this area, but that is a small update as students are starting to get released from certain areas on campus. No update quite yet as to when we will hear from the newly confirmed commissioner and the mayor. We know that they are on scene, but we are still waiting to hear any update from them. You can see this is Argonne here. This is right down the street where all of this is unfolding. We have been staying at the corner here. Police are keeping us a distance away for safety. Right now we have Foxtrot overhead. It has been here the entire time. We're told from Councilwoman Odette Ramos, she believes that all of these resources from FBI is here, ATF, Baltimore Police, Fire, they all are all here and they're concentrating everything on this campus at the moment. That's why we keep seeing Foxtrot go overhead. So again, we have been seeing those emergency vehicles going in and out of campus. We do have confirmed at least 4 students shot, non-life-threatening injuries. We continue to hear these accounts from students, and it's hard to hear. Of course, we saw some students over here. They've been waiting hours to go back on campus. Police still saying they want them to stay off of campus for now. So we're going to stay here and wait to hear from police. We're hoping it should be any minute now, and we will keep you updated. For now, back to you.
Tommy Clark, thank you very much. Reporting on a bus responding to that scene to transport students who had been sheltering in place and now being transported to other places. And now we're going to go back to Kim Dacey.
Kim, you have some additional students with you? You have Amani and Regina still with you.
Yeah, we have Amani and Regina, who have been nice enough to stay out here with us most of the night. They were at that coronation ceremony when the shots rang out, and just it was several hours ago when we went over this. But tell me what you heard, what you saw, what happened at that ceremony.
So we didn't hear anything necessarily, but when we were driving out to go to the next part of the ceremony, then we saw all the police cars and the ambulance, and then we saw the SWAT team running. We heard the helicopter, and that's once we got into the parking garage, that's when the police shined their lights on us, and we were like, whoa, what's happening? And that's when we realized, okay, it's an active shooter. People started texting us, and it just went from there. We was like, we have to get home, and everyone started texting us saying, please make it home safely, let us know when you do, and it just went from there.
So police were looking in each car. Is that what they were doing? You said they were shining lights on you?
They weren't getting out the car. They would use their lights on their car to shine. It was like really, really bright. It startled us. We were like, whoa, what is that? And then they like stood there for a second in the car, and they pulled it off. We was like, okay, let's get out of here because something's weird was happening. And that's when we found out it's a shooter.
Now, they're saying this is not an active shooter situation anymore. Police have put that out, but folks are still supposed to shelter in place. And, as we're talking, we see the helicopter up with the searchlight circling the Morgan State University campus. Talk to me about your thoughts on all of that.
Actually, they just sent us a message saying that the shelter in place order was lifted on campus. So all shuttle services have resumed as normal. And more details will be coming out over the course of the next few hours and in the morning. And honestly, I don't agree with that, simply because I know a lot of our friends and family are still pretty rattled about the situation, and that still doesn't mean that the shooter was caught. So it's kind of crazy that within 2 to 3 hours, we go from shelter in place and nobody moved to everything resuming back to normal.
Now, you said you just got an alert a minute ago saying the shelter in place was lifted. Did you get any kind of alert on your phone when the shooting happened?
So not immediately. It took maybe like an hour and a half, almost 2 hours before we got any type of correspondence. Most of what I saw was on social media, like our friends telling us, hey, don't go anywhere. They're shooting on campus. But yeah, from the school or any officials, it took about 2 hours.
And what are your thoughts on that?
I definitely feel it was a little too long. I do understand everyone has a job to do, and I do respect that. However, given that this took place at a campus event, this wasn't, nearby in the shopping center. This was on campus property. So I definitely feel that something could have been said sooner.
Wow. So what do you guys do tonight? I mean, once you go home, what do you do from here? What do you do after a night like this?
I'm going to take a melatonin and do a backflip in my bed and go to sleep. Yes, I'm going to bed. Like today was a wellness day, no class, supposed to be relaxing. Then this happened. This is too much. Yes, I'm going to bed.
And you guys said your classes are already canceled for tomorrow.
Not mine. I haven't received anything yet.
Mine are. Both of my professors already emailed. They emailed actually before Morgan State did, letting us know, everyone take your day and do what you need to do. Be with your friends and family. Classes over. Like it's not happening tomorrow.
Talk to me about what you're going to do tomorrow if you don't have any classes. How are you going to reflect on this, and what are you going to do tomorrow after a night like this?
I'm going to hang out with my bestie, and I'm probably going to write in my journal because this was a lot, and just try to figure out where I go from here, because I've been at Morgan State for a few years now, and there have been little instances, here and there, but there has never been a active shooter casualty situation. So I just really feel that this is definitely a moment for reflection.
Now, Regina, you're a psychology major. So, do you have any skills or coping skills you could share with other students about how to handle what they saw and heard tonight?
So definitely journaling. A lot of times, just figure out things that you really enjoy, and just really hone in on that. Because I feel that in moments like this, finding joy and, enjoying those little things are definitely some of the best things you can do when you're going through very traumatic events.
And talk to me about the kind of support system you guys have here. This is a very close-knit campus, I know, and you guys have been checking in with your friends. They've already checked in with their parents, and you guys have been kind of texting and making sure everyone's okay. Talk to me about the kind of support you guys are going to give each other going forward.
I think it's going to be the same how it was today. Are you okay? Maybe we should go out to lunch, like get your mind off it. How are you feeling? We don't know how necessarily it's affecting everybody. Like people who might have been right there, they could have. We don't know who was at the scene in the situation. So I would just say just keep checking in on everyone, because you don't know how everyone feels right now. It's still a real sticky situation.
Okay. Great. Well, thank you guys so much for sticking around for us. We appreciate it. And I'm sorry you guys had to witness something like that. And I'm glad you guys are safe, and hope you get some sleep tonight. And of course, we're hoping to learn more about what exactly did happen in a little bit from police. And we are standing by, and we'll bring you the very latest when that comes in. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Kim. Talking to Imani and Regina, two students who can't wait to go to bed.
Sure.
Because they've had a long evening and they're going to get a lot of sleep tonight, because they don't have to wake up early for class tomorrow, because they're saying that classes have been canceled so that they can cope with what has happened on this campus this evening. And Regina saying that she's going to write in her journal.
Again,
it was a lot tonight.
Sure, a lot to process. Morgan State University tweeting again, just to clarify, the shelter-in-place order has been lifted, and all the shuttle services have resumed on campuses. And as more details become available, we will update our campus community via official university communication channels, which, every student needs a different level of information. And I think at least Regina was saying she wasn't getting it in a timely enough fashion for her in order to ease her nerves. But I'll tell you, struck again by just the more details that are coming out, that this was a wellness day on campus, a day, sort of a break from class, the stress of class, a day to feel well and to share in the beginning of this homecoming week, when this, what one student or former student described, Cam Potts, who was sheltering in place at the Murphy Fine Arts Center, described it as an earthquake of chaos that unfolded as this shooting broke out around 9:30 this evening, injuring 4 students. We know that it is no longer an active shooter, but we also are waiting with bated breath for an official press conference from authorities to find out exactly how this unfolded and how it resolved.
Speaking of authorities, we know that the mayor is on the scene. We saw Councilwoman Odette Ramos on the scene there, and we know that Police Commissioner Richard Worley on the scene right now, and we are waiting for this update from authorities as to what happened within the past 3 hours or so. This is when it started to unfold. Just after 9:30 or so, we started to get word of shots fired on the campus of Morgan State University, and then we got word that students had been shot. And then we got confirmation that at least 4 students were shot on campus, non-life-threatening injuries, according to Baltimore City Police. And we have been hearing, and we've heard again that Baltimore Police are momentarily going to convene a news conference.
It's the longest momentarily ever. I tell you, the Morgan State alum, which is a huge network, has been very, very vocal on social media. And someone just posted, to anyone who is currently enrolled at Morgan State University, please know you have a huge, all caps, huge support system from us alum. Please do not hesitate to reach out. This individual said, we are praying for you all and share the same pain right now.
And you and I both know that that alumni network is huge.
Yeah.
And so when they say that they have a huge support system, that is not hyperbole. There are a lot of Morgan State University alumni, both in the city, in the state, and across the country. And many of whom were in town for this week, because again, this is homecoming week here at Morgan State University. Events have been planned from this past Sunday all the way through this coming Sunday. And tonight was the coronation ceremony for Mr. and Mrs. Morgan State University. Imani and Regina were at that ceremony. And then there was a shelter in place, which has been lifted. And again, police say that this is no longer an active shooter situation, but we do know that 4 students were shot outside of a dorm on Argonne Drive.
You know, there's been a lot of talk the last couple of weeks of how all these events, and there have been many horrific events in Baltimore, starting back, let's just think of the big ones in July, the mass shooting. And so there's been a lot of talk about what could potentially happen legislatively when it comes to gun laws. And I can tell you that the Senate president has tweeted tonight, Senate President Bill Ferguson, saying the repetition of these horrific events is about one thing. This is from Bill Ferguson, easy access to guns. This doesn't happen at our rate in places where guns aren't immediately available. Should we focus on mental health issues and the like? Of course, quoting again, Senate President Bill Ferguson, but we as a society have a choice, more guns or less. So the question is, to what degree will all these events impact our legislation and what pressure will there be on lawmakers when it comes to gun laws and when it comes to other issues involving everything involving this sentencing, et cetera. So it's not the conversation to have tonight, but I did want to bring up that this particular tweet from Senate President Bill Ferguson, and there will be continued pressure on lawmakers to address this.
And any legislation or any action would be in reaction to the impact on the people, the victims, the family members, and just people living and working, being educated in the city, visiting the city, who are impacted by gun violence and the threat of it. And as we just saw 2 young people in an embrace there, but I mean, there's a lot of emotions and anxiety unfolding on this campus right there at Morgan State, as we are now about 3 hours away from the initial incident, as we are waiting for city leaders to come to the microphones and tell the citizens, the students, the staff, the alumni, what happened on campus tonight.
All we know is that gunfire broke out near the Thurgood Marshall Hall and the Murphy Fine Arts Center, where students had gathered to celebrate homecoming on a day that was called a wellness day on campus, where there were no classes held. We know that 4 students were hurt, none seriously, we're told, and that for the next several hours that police and FBI and the ATF and SWAT descended on the campus of Morgan State University to find this active shooter, and that was the term that police used to describe what was happening. We know that shelter-in-place order has been lifted, and we know that it has been deemed no longer an active shooter situation. Those are the facts as we have right now. We know that students described a terrifying but also a spiritual scene, particularly inside the Murphy Fine Arts Center, where they were in prayer and they were comforting each other as events were unfolding around them. We know that students were sheltered in place at Thurgood Marshall Hall, some hiding under their beds, as police were looking for that active shooter. That is what we know. We don't know who the shooter was. We don't know if a suspect is in custody. We don't know how this has ended. We just know that clearly facts are being collected that will then be passed on to us in order to share with you.
And we're waiting for that moment. Presumably those facts will be passed on to us when this news conference happens. We understand that the mayor, the police commissioner, they're on the scene. They are preparing for some sort of news conference to give us more information as to what happened on the campus of Morgan State University this evening. As we know right now, confirmed through police, 4 students were injured in this shooting situation, none with life-threatening injuries. As we know that the victims are all students, we don't know if the shooter was a student, a former student, or a visitor, or anything like that. So we are waiting for this news conference. Again, more than 3 hours ago now, there was an active shooting situation. At that point, it was described by police as an active shooting situation, which is no longer the case now. According to authorities, it is no longer an active shooter situation. And as a result of that shooting situation, there had been a shelter-in-place order put in place, which has since been lifted.
Governor Westmore tweeting, "My office is aware of the shooting incident on the Morgan State University campus. My team and I are in close contact with officials on the ground and are monitoring the situation."
Wow.
So the governor now involved. Just received a text from a professor, a good friend of mine, a professor at Morgan State University, who says, "Praying for our beloved Morgan State University." My friend, Professor Daryl Green, and we appreciate you,
Thank you
sharing that with us. He does very important work there in the School of Social Work, and we are praying as well, Professor Green. So thank you for sharing that with us. What a tough situation there on campus. And if you have any information that you'd like to share with us, whether you are professors or staff members or students, alumni, please reach out to us here in the newsroom, and we'd like to share that information you have. We know this is difficult, and we also know that Morgan State is a very special place, and a very special place for many people, and we don't want to detract from that either.
A special place that has the nickname the National Treasure,
Yeah.
as a lot of people consider it to be a national treasure, and many of them were in town this week to celebrate homecoming. This is a very special, nostalgic week for many people, and that's what the events were centered around from last Sunday through this coming Sunday. Tonight, a coronation ceremony for Mr. and Mrs. Morgan State University, and then gunshots ring out, and police are looking for a shooter. 4 students injured, but none with life-threatening injuries.
So according to our folks, we have 15 minutes until this press conference begins.
Okay.
So 15 minutes of listening to us. So we apologize not sharing a lot of new information with you, but we certainly are craving those details as you are. So since we have a little time, if we are able to connect back with our folks on the scene, I know Tommy will be there at the press conference.
Tommy walking around.
You saw Tommy walking around, and Kim has been speaking with the students there. So if we can get one of them to chat with us, we will as soon as we can. But you are looking at these images of the campus tonight, where the police activity is just police have descended on that campus.
As we wait for
No, go ahead.
We wait for that news conference to happen by Hillen Road and Argonne Drive, which is where our reporter Tommy Clark is standing by. Hopefully we can link up with you, Tommy. Anything that you've learned in the minutes since we last spoke to you?
We finally had a member of the Baltimore Police Department's Public Information Office He pulled his car up and said, "Hey, sorry guys, it'll be 15 minutes." That's where we got that from. So we are now awaiting. We have a countdown now because it's been hours since we have been requesting more information about this incident. We know the commissioner is here as well as the mayor. We've also seen that FBI is here, ATF. We have multiple agencies assisting Baltimore police. This is a look at the scene where we have been. Of course, we were saying how we can not go any further into campus. Police have wanted to keep us, of course, at a safe distance at this corner here. But all the media outlets are at that corner because that is where we are going to have a press conference in 15 minutes to ask the commissioner and the mayor what exactly transpired here. Like Deb said, we've been putting the facts together, hearing from students about the event they were at, and that when they left, there was shots fired. And they were saying they thought it was fireworks, and it turned out that it was this active shooter situation. We've been watching as students have been leaving campus, walking out. Some RAs came by and said they were walking students out of the area. And this sidewalk, there are also more students standing here waiting. We've also heard from other students who said they were sheltering in place and they have been dismissed from those areas. But the big question right now is suspects. We have not received any information from police in regards to a suspect in this incident. We know shots fired, at least 4 students, non-life-threatening injuries. We've reached out to multiple hospitals here. We've heard back from Maryland Medical System. They say they have not received any patients from this incident. We've also heard back from LifeBridge Health and MedStar Health. They've indicated that they have received 0 patients in connection to this incident. Something troubling here is that we have heard from parents who are frustrated, as well as when our Kim Dacey was speaking with some frustrated students. Parents are telling us that, in the last 10 minutes, they say that they were not receiving reports promptly. Their kids told them they were not told right away when this happened. They're saying, quote, that this first alert, when it happened, it was delayed. So they were not happy about how long it took to find out about this. Of course, we're going to speak more with Morgan State to learn, why it took so long. But that is the sentiment that we're hearing from students right now. We do have a photographer on the other side of this curb. He's pointing, saying this press conference is about to start. So Deb and Andre, back to you.
Tommy, we'll let you get to that news conference so you could listen in to what authorities have to say about this shooting incident on the campus of Morgan State University. And Tommy was mentioning Kim Dacey. We understand that Kim Dacey's on her way to that Safeway parking lot at 4401 Hartford Road, which is where the university and the police department want parents and any loved ones to go to receive word as to the whereabouts of their loved ones, students presumably, on the campus of Morgan State University as we wait for this news conference.
We've been speaking all night with a number of students, including some of whom have worked here before and some of whom are currently working here, including a Morgan State University student, Amani, who is an intern here. Mm-hmm. And earlier this week, Amani was very excited about homecoming and shared with one of our managers that her understanding was that on Saturday, at the homecoming events on Saturday, that official celebrations were going to be cut off at 7 p.m. And the idea was that they wanted to end it before things got, again, according to Amani, who shared this with our manager, so things would stay safe because in the last couple of years, there have been some incidents. So safety was certainly on the mind of students and of Morgan State administrators as well, as they were planning and hoping to have a safe and positive week, and they will get back to that. They will, because the spirit is strong there. But for now, this is a real roadblock in the events there, and a real roadblock in kind of the hearts of both the current students and this gigantic alumni.
Huge.
Yeah, a group of alumni who are really have made it clear on social media tonight that they are there to support the school that they love and to get everybody to move past this and to move forward together as the family that is Morgan State.
As alumni who used to work with us, Camp Potts said that Morgan is better together.
Yeah.
And students and the staff, the faculty, the Morgan State University community have this interesting thing to deal with this week, where they're going to try to heal from the events of this evening, but also try to move forward to Saturday and homecoming. And the reason why a lot of people are in town right now to celebrate homecoming week, including the event tonight, the coronation ceremony for Mr. and Mrs. Morgan State University.
Well, I do expect this to come up in the news conference. We know we will hear from the mayor. We will hear from Commissioner Worley and the president of Morgan State, Dr. David Wilson. And I'm sure that that will be a question for Dr. Wilson, which is, excuse me, how do you move on from here?
Sure.
And what are the plans for tomorrow? And what are the plans for the rest of the week? Because nobody wants this to put in, excuse me, to put an end to what they all were all planning and the celebrations that mean so much to what is, which is a family. And I keep saying the family, but that is what everybody that we were interviewing tonight, all the students were saying, we were family waiting and celebrating together. And for this coronation of Mr. and Miss Morgan State tonight at that event at the Murphy Fine Arts Center, which is a beautiful facility there
Gorgeous
at Morgan.
center. Dr. Wilson will be posed this question, and city leaders will also be posed this question. Not only what are they going to do for this week, but what are they going to do for the weeks, months, years to come, so that something like this doesn't happen, not just during homecoming week, but on any given night. We were talking to students who have a fear of walking around campus at night because of the incident that happened tonight. And then the city in general, we were talking to Councilwoman Odette Ramos earlier. I mean, this is just one of several events that have happened in the city in recent weeks that cause people to be concerned about their safety.
The ATF special agents and K9 remain on the scene there, according to Twitter, that they are partnering with Baltimore police in this investigation and searching the crime scene there on the campus of Morgan State for shell casings and for any additional evidence. And so they're partnering with Baltimore police as, you know, it's really all hands on deck at Morgan State as they investigate what happened. And again, as we wait for some official word of what happened. And we are told it is only minutes away that we will be hearing from the mayor, the police commissioner, and the president of Morgan State. Go ahead.
As it's about to be 1 o'clock and we have another statement from Morgan State University. Attention, Morgan community, the shelter-in-place order on campus has been lifted. All shuttle services have resumed. As more details become available, we will update our campus community via official university communication channels. And we are waiting for a news conference that is supposed to be underway momentarily. And Mayor Brendan Scott, Police Commissioner Richard Worley, and University President Dr. David Wilson are scheduled to be the speakers at this news conference.
Really struck tonight by the young people who bravely shared with our reporters, particularly with Kim Dacey, who has been talking to the students. Really just, you okay? Sorry, I'm going to let you chime in
well,
there.
we just got a text from our producer saying that now police say it will be 20 minutes from now to this news conference. So police are following up with students who experienced it before they can speak with us. So as of right now, the time for the news conference by the mayor, the police commissioner, and the university president is scheduled for 20 minutes from now.
Okay, so we have some time to check back with Kim Dacey, who's done some really phenomenal reporting tonight, speaking to some phenomenal students at Morgan State University. Kim is now at the Safeway, and we've been telling you earlier that the Safeway has been the location where authorities wanted families to go to get some information about their loved ones on campus. So Kim has now moved to that location on Harford Road. I'm going to dance around a little bit until Kim gets into place. Our director, Doug, is telling us just to wait a few here. Thank you, Doug. We are going to wait. And looks like that is our photographer. That's Eric getting in place there for that news conference. All right. So while we wait for Kim, we know that Kim has moved to that location where we are told that family members have been asked to gather to meet with police, and we have her now. Kim, what do you know?
Well, Deborah, we just moved locations to the Safeways you mentioned off Harford Road, and this is where we were told parents were directed to come, parents who wanted to reunite with their children who might have been on or near campus at the time of the shooting. Now, when we just pulled in a few minutes ago, the police officers who are at the entrance here said most of the parents at this point have left. I did approach a small group of parents who are here left in the parking lot, and they immediately said, we don't want to talk to the media. So, which is understandable in a situation like this. It's been a very emotional night for everyone on campus, and certainly for parents who are watching all this unfold on TV and on social media and just wanting to maybe see and hold and hug their children again. So again, we are here in the Safeway off Harford Road, and it looks like there is some kind of an emergency vehicle in the back. It looks like an ambulance back there. We're not sure why that's there, but we do have some police officers here on the scene directing folks. But it doesn't look like many people remain here, many parents remain here. So we're hoping that that means that most of them have been reunited with their children after this, what has to be a traumatizing ordeal. That's the very latest here from Harford Road. We'll send it back to you guys.
Kim, we were so struck by your interviews. I'm going to get to that in a second, but we're going to take a look at this tweet from ATF. Andre, if you want to go ahead.
Sure. The ATF in Baltimore tweeting out, ATF special agents and K9 remain on scene at Morgan State University to assist our Baltimore police partners with searching the crime scene for shell casings and additional evidence. That coming from the ATF Baltimore. So federal partners working with the Baltimore Police Department to investigate this shooting incident on the campus of Morgan State University.
Yeah, Kim, Andre and I are, as I'm sure many people are who watched your interviews with the students. When Regina and Amani left you, I'm assuming that they headed home, correct?
Yes.
Okay. How were they? First of all, incredible interviews with them. Their composure was truly remarkable, but I could really see, particularly in Amani, how unnerved she is. How did they seem when they left, which I'm sure they were so glad to go home and to go to sleep? How did they seem to you?
Well, I'll tell you what, Deb, when I first made contact with Amani and Regina in the parking lot of their apartment complex, Amani was very hesitant to leave that area, and she was just scared to go anywhere near campus. So we stayed safely off campus for her safety and went someplace that she was comfortable. As the night wore on, they seemed to get a little bit more comfortable, I guess, as reality set in, and they had some time to process what they saw and think about it. But they did say they're going to go home, lock their doors, get in their PJs. You know, Imani said she was going to take a melatonin to help her sleep after such an ordeal. And I think they're just going to do their best to settle in and kind of get some sleep and see what tomorrow might bring. Of course, they were comforted by the fact that they say this is not an active shooter situation. And then when the shelter in place order was lifted, they felt better about that. Now, I will say at their apartment complex, they were checking people at the gate and not letting people in who didn't live there, which is another security measure that's in place. And Imani had said that made her feel better, knowing that someone who doesn't live there can't even get on. They weren't even letting visitors on at that point, the security at the guard gate right at the front of their apartment complex. So presumably they're home now. Hopefully they're warm and comfortable, and hopefully they can both get some sleep tonight.
Yeah, thoughts and prayers are definitely with Imani and Regina. We also have to ask you about David and Jason, two young men that you talked to earlier tonight as well.
Yeah, well, I think David is going to be staying at Jason's house because, you know, David was in the Thurgood Marshall dorm. That was really the center of this investigation, where they went through and searched the rooms there. We understand is what we heard and saw on social media. So he's not even sure if or when he could get back into his dorm to get his things. So he was going to crash at Jason's house tonight, which, you know, he said was okay. It's his good friend. And then maybe try to make his way back back tomorrow. But you heard from Jason, he is from Baltimore. So his parents on the other side of town were seeing all of this come out in real time. They might even be watching our coverage right now and watching this. And it was really difficult to get through, he said, because there were so many people on their cell phones and FaceTiming and calling, and everyone trying to scramble and make sure that all their loved ones were safe and make communication with people that aren't here, that he had trouble getting through to his parents, even here in Baltimore. So his sister, who's a police officer, ran up to the scene because she, of course, knew what was going on to see if her brother was okay. And he said she was visibly very upset. And then, of course, relieved when she learned her brother was okay. But in a situation like this, every person, every parent, family member, friend who knows a student at Morgan State University and heard about this, the thought crossed their mind that they hope their loved one is okay. So that's a lot of families that were kind of in the lurch until they could find out if their loved one was okay. So that's a big effect, and that's the kind of effect an event like this has. It just adds to the chaos of the whole event.
Speaking of that, Kim, and thank you for bringing us those interviews with those young people throughout the night. You said you were able to see some family members who were leaving at some point tonight when you got to that Safeway parking lot.
No, well, we didn't see them leave. There was a small group that were kind of congregated between a couple of cars, and we walked up to them, and they just expressed that they didn't want to speak with us. So we walked away and left them alone, which is certainly understandable. It's been a long night for everyone, and they've been through quite an ordeal. So,
thank you, Kim. We're going to get back to you shortly. We're continuing to wait for this news conference. We do want to share that the Uvalde Foundation for Children is monitoring this. It's the Uvalde Foundation for Kids National Critical Incident Response Team is monitoring this situation. Their 24-hour school crisis line is open for students and school community members. And we have a phone number, but there's a large number of calls, so they've added additional staff. And there's a phone number if people are interested in calling, and that number is 888-685-8464. And this nonprofit was formed in response to the shooting in Uvalde, Texas. So Morgan now joining this group, this club, this terrible club.
Nobody wanted to be a part of.
Right. So Uvalde keeping an eye on this and offering their support to Morgan. And Morgan, unfortunately, is trending now on social media, trending not for the reason it ever wanted to be trending, for this incident tonight that happened around 9:30 this evening on the campus of Morgan State, where 4 students were shot. We're told they are not critically wounded, but wounded nonetheless, as Morgan was celebrating the beginning of homecoming week on campus.
Right. Tonight was a coronation ceremony for Mr. and Mrs. Morgan State University. A lot of students and staff and alumni were in attendance of that ceremony when this event unfolded. At least 4 students shot, not seriously, according to authorities. And there was a shelter in place that has been lifted. There was an active shooting situation that is no longer characterized as such, as we are waiting for the mayor, the police commissioner, and the university president to give us an update as to what actually happened. But what we can report through confirmation with the police department, at least 4 students shot outside of a dorm on the campus of Morgan State University this evening.
And just
last evening, we are now 1:10 in the morning on Wednesday.
Yeah, we've kind of lost sense of time here. Students who don't live on campus and those who alumni who return to campus were allowed to leave. The shelter-in-place order was lifted about a half hour ago, and so many people are on the way home. We know that buses were sent to school to get some of those students out of there, and so people could get home and kind of reset for tomorrow, as the authorities are still on campus waiting to brief reporters about what happened. Really some extraordinary scenes shared with us this evening, whether it was students in a dorm at Thurgood Marshall Hall hiding under their beds, waiting to get official word on how this was getting resolved, or students and alumni gathering at the Murphy Fine Arts Center, praying, singing, as they didn't really know what was happening around them, knowing full well that there was something unnerving, but finding the solace of faith and prayer and each other to get through a really difficult night. And just a beautiful scene that was described to us by a former employee of WBAL, Cameron Potts, who is an alumni and who was there at Murphy Fine Arts and was sheltering in place. And it sounds like it was just, something that nobody wanted to happen, but the spirituality that unfolded in that place where the Morgan Choir often performs brought a lot of people comfort at a really difficult time.
And speaking of comfort, he says his past experiences, including his past employment here, prepared him for this moment that he was not anticipating and never thought that he would have to take part in. But nonetheless, he served as that center of comfort and calm for people who were at one moment singing and praying, and then we're responding to people running to them looking for help and just answers as to what's going on. Nobody knows what really is going on. He described it as sounding like an earthquake. And then you're trying to just comfort your friends and just strangers alike. As police are looking for a shooter, because at that time there was a shelter in place and people are being told to stay where you are, don't go anywhere because we're looking for a shooter.
Listen, we feel a connection to Morgan. We've worked with a lot of interns from Morgan. We've worked with a lot of colleagues who graduated from Morgan. So we have a familial connection to Morgan State. We've spent a lot of time there. I've spoken to students there. I've interviewed professors there. We have a connection there. It feels close to home for all of us. Some of our dear friends who used to work here graduated from Morgan. So this hits close to home for all of us as we worry about the young people who have worked here and continue to work here and intern here and want to grow as journalists here. And Amani, who found herself on the scene there reporting to us the facts, but also speaking very much from the heart as she endured a very, very difficult night there as a student. 8 hours from home and feeling just terrified being there. Again, we are awaiting this news conference. I know we've been saying that. I'm sure you could count how many times we've said it on all hands and all toes here.
Counting.
Yeah, you stop counting, but we are awaiting word and we know it's happening and it should be happening within moments.
And we are told that when this news conference happens, the mayor, Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott, Baltimore Police Commissioner Richard Worley, and Morgan State University President Dr. David Wilson will be those who speak at this news conference, telling us what happened on the campus of Morgan State University Tuesday night, as we are now waiting for this news conference early Wednesday morning, as we are still looking at flashing lights outside of a building there on the campus of Morgan State University, as we're looking at the intersection of Hillen Road and Argonne Drive.
I mean, there are a number of scenes there. So you have this scene here where podiums have been set up and we're waiting for the news conference. You still have this scene at Safeway where Kim Dacey was, which was the place for families to come to get more information about their loved ones and to speak with police. And then you have these other spaces that have developed all over the campus where people have found their sort of safety nook, right?
Yes,
where they feel more comfortable. And then many people, many students and alumni who don't live on campus have now headed home for the night as they try to kind of process this terrible night and what happened. And I'm sure try to get word about their friends who are now recovering from being injured from gunfire.
And you use the word process, the ATF of Baltimore helping Baltimore police process this scene, looking for shell casings and any other evidence that could help police solve whatever happened on the campus of Morgan State University tonight. That we are waiting to hear official word as to what exactly happened. But we know that for students, for young people, at least 4 shot as a result of an incident on Morgan State University's campus tonight.
We know that none of the students have been transported to University of Maryland Medical System
right.
shock trauma, which should give you a sense
Mhm.
of the severity of their injuries, if I can make that assumption. We know that there does not appear to be any patients at LifeBridge, so I'm assuming that perhaps they may be at Good Sam
Sure.
nearby.
That's not too far, right?
Yeah, we want to go back to Tommy Clark, who is still on the ground for us. Tommy, I know you're awaiting that news conference as well.
That's right. I've been going back and forth between where the press conference is going to be held. It's just behind me here across the street in front of the Morgan State University sign. We've been seeing some students come out. I've been asking if they're okay. No one has been wanting to talk. We're just making sure that these kids are okay at this point. A very scary situation for them. We have Councilwoman Odette Ramos here. I just spoke with one of the public information officers. He says it really should be any minute now that we speak with someone. We do have some emotional students on the side here that we're not going to show because this is a very traumatic experience for these kids to go through. So we are seeing them trickle out as they're leaving the shelter in place orders. And we're hoping to hear from police any minute now. We're still waiting. We've been waiting hours. We have not received any information in regards to a suspect in this case. But we have been watching as students have been walking back and forth. We did get word there possibly may be some hotels nearby for students to stay at if they don't feel safe. We've been seeing shuttle buses come in and out of this area for students. One of the bus drivers said that he was called here to pick up some students. So it is just a very active scene still hours later. But it is promising that we do have a public information officer in the area who is telling us it should be any minute now. He told me that the police officers, the commissioner, the mayor, they were speaking with students who experienced this, and they wanted to finish up those chats before they came and talked with us. So we're just going to stay at this corner where police are blocking off the campus and continue to cover this still very active situation. We really should be hearing from police any minute now, but as soon as we do, of course, I'll bring it to you. But for now, back to you.
Tommy, thank you for your reporting there. I'm just struck by those images, the juxtaposition of the flashing police lights and then some members of a band.
I think we're good. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you, Jason.
We're looking at the police officers on one side of the street and then members of a band,
Yeah.
the brass section of a
Right.
band just walking by.
Yeah, I felt the same way.
But we are waiting for this news conference. As you mentioned earlier, we've been saying that we're going to go to this news conference. And when that news conference happens, we expect to hear from the mayor, the police commissioner, and the university president. And we're going to go back to Kim Dacey standing by at that Safeway parking lot at 4401 Harford Road.
Yeah, Andre, this is the place where parents were told to come if they were interested in reunifying with their children who might have been on the campus or near the campus at the time of the shooting. Now, we're told by the police officers who were here at the entrance that most parents have left. I would assume that once the shelter in place order was lifted, a lot of those parents went to find their children and to go to them. We did find a group of parents here. They were not interested in talking to us, which is understandable because it's been a very emotional night. But, this has been all over social media. And as we were perusing Facebook, there were some comments made by parents of Morgan State University students expressing concern that this university didn't send out information sooner than it did. We heard from some students that it was, an hour or two before they really got any official notification from the university that there was a shooting or an incident or anything like that, which is obviously concerning to parents and to students both. We spoke to Regina, who's a student here and lives just off campus, but she was actually at that coronation when the shots were fired. And she describes what it was, the response from the university was like.
Not immediately. It took maybe like an hour and a half, almost 2 hours before we got any type of correspondence. Most of what I saw was on social media, like our friends telling us, hey, don't go anywhere. They're shooting on campus. But yeah, from the school or any officials, it took about 2 hours.
And Regina was saying that she thinks that's too long. They did send an alert out immediately to her phone as we were talking to her, that the shelter in place was lifted. But again, she feels that it was too long of a time before folks at Morgan notified all of the students on campus and off of what was going on, and that there was a situation that they needed to be careful of, shelter in place, and just generally be aware of. Again, parents were told to come here to the Safeway parking lot off Harford Road to reunify with their children. But again, we're told by police officers that most of those parents have left at this time, hopefully reunited with those children. And again, we're all waiting to kind of know exactly what happened on campus here at Morgan State University, as we're waiting for that press conference to find out exactly what happened. But again, we will bring you the very latest as we get it. And of course, if that press conference does start, we will bring you that as well. Reporting live along Harford Road, I'm Kim Dacey, WBAL TV 11 News.
Kim, thank you. Thank you for your sensitivity and for Tommy's sensitivity as well, for not showing those students who are having a difficult time. We have invaded as reporters tonight. We've invaded Morgan State, but we don't have to be invasive human beings. And so we appreciate both Kim and Tommy for those judgment calls.
Sure. And earlier tonight, we were talking to a former employee here at WBAL TV 11, and who's a former student at Morgan State University. He said that he was singing and praying at one of the halls there, and we believe that we have some sound from his experience this evening. So we're listening to it with you in real time. So let's take a listen.
People were frantic and anxious. Emotionally, all we could do was really just surrender and pray and pray that everything would be okay, despite the situation that we were in. We even had people that were running into the choir. We were in the choir room actually, and people were running into the choir room, crying and saying something's going on, something's wrong. And so we told them everything's going to be okay. If you want to stay in here, stay in here. This is a safe space. This is a safe place. So that's what we did. We didn't allow the moment to affect us the way that it could have. We just emotionally, gave into just the place of spirit of prayer and just allow that to take over really in that place. Yeah.
Talk about that.
Wow.
One moment you're in song and prayer, and the next moment you're comforting people running to you seeking shelter.
Yes. There were people that actually at one point they actually could hear the music. They could hear people singing, people praying, and so they all they felt led to come into the space, and we encouraged them. Everything's going to be okay as long as we stick together, we stay together, and we encourage each other. There's nothing that we cannot get through. So that's really how that played out.
An incredible scene described by Cameron Potts, who used to work here, Morgan State alum, and I do hope that is one of the images that resonates from this night. And when we perhaps see some video about what happened at the Murphy Fine Arts Center, I hope that is the takeaway that people have when it comes to the spirit of Morgan State.
A choir room serving as a makeshift safe place while students are sheltering in place as police are investigating a shooting incident that injured at least 4 students on Tuesday night as we approach 1:30 early Wednesday morning, as we are waiting on a news conference by the mayor, police commissioner, and the university president. And we understand that Kim Dacey is speaking to her parent right now. So shall we go back to Kim Dacey?
Let's.
Yeah, hi guys. I'm here with one of the parents who came to see his son. This is Bird, and he drove all the way from PG County when he heard what happened. First of all, tell me how you learned about what happened and what your reaction was.
I got a call from his mother, who we're not together. She called me in tears, telling me that to turn on the news, and I turned on the news, and my first reaction was to come and find my son and make sure he was okay.
And tell me, have you talked to your son, and what did he say?
Yes. So my understanding was that she had tried to contact him and couldn't contact him. He was in the dorm where it happened. A friend of his had his phone. They heard shots and they scattered, and he didn't have his phone with him, and it took quite a while for me to actually get in contact with him.
What were you thinking, feeling during that time where you didn't know where he was?
Terrified. I was terrified. So, hey, you haven't heard from him. I can't get him. I'm on the way. So I drove up here and watching the news on the phone and hearing updates. Don't come near the campus. Come to the Safeway. And this is until I heard something else.
How long was it before you heard from your son and knew he was okay?
On the way here from PG County. The phone rings. It's a number I don't recognize. I answer it. I hear his voice. I kind of tear up a little bit. And I felt a little bit better. Felt a little bit better on the rest of the ride.
I can't imagine the relief hearing his voice and hearing that he was okay. So where is he now?
He's with a friend at a friend's house. I'm getting ready to go pick him up as soon as I'm finished here. Getting ready to go pick him up.
What a night. What do you think about all this?
I don't know. I'm not sure what we're doing out here. This is ridiculous, man. I see this stuff on the news every day. I'm not sure how we got here or how to fix it, but it's getting crazy.
Do you feel safe with your son staying on campus in the dorm where this happened, after this happened?
No. I didn't like it at first when he told me he wanted to stay on campus. I'm not from this area, but I'm familiar with the area. I was a little leery about it, but this is what he wanted to do.
Do you think you'll let him stay here on campus?
We'll see. Let's get past let's get past tonight first.
Now, a lot of parents were expressing frustration that the university itself wasn't quick enough at putting out an alert to the students themselves to let them know there was an incident, there was a shooting, that something happened. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know. I don't know anything about that. I was woken up out of my sleep with it, so I'm not sure what the timeline was. I don't know when it started, when it ended, but
is it something that you think the school should let students know as soon as possible?
Yeah, however you can. Yeah. If someone is aware or somebody in administration is aware something's going on, yeah, you need to let anyone know, everyone know.
What do you think you'll do? What's it going to be like when you see your son for the first time?
I'm gonna hug him. He's gonna look at me funny, but I'm gonna hug him.
Well, thank you so much, Bird, for talking to us. You're a good dad to drive all the way up here at this hour to see your son. I'm glad he's okay, and I hope you get to see him soon. Yeah, so that's expressing some of the sentiment that a lot of parents felt tonight when they heard that news that there was a shooting on the Morgan State University campus. Again, everyone who has a child or a friend who goes to this university kind of had those thoughts, and they're trying to reunite at this point and make sure everyone's okay. That's the latest here.
Thank you. Kim talking to a father who drove up from Prince George's County after receiving word from the mother of his son about what we're about to hear right here.
All right, let's go to the podium where Commissioner Worley, Acting Commissioner Worley, President David Wilson, the mayor are prepared to address the media.
All right.
About what
Good morning.
happened.
Joining me here today is Mayor Brandon Scott, Morgan State University President David Wilson, Morgan State Police Chief Lance Hatcher, Fire Chief Jay Wallace, representatives from ATF and the FBI, Councilwoman Ramos, and community leader from Hill and Road Community, correct? Yesterday, approximately 9:25 p.m., Morgan State University police were on patrol. They heard discharging, responded to the scene, located multiple victims within seconds or minutes. Our BPD fire and police resources were on scene, helping the Morgan State University police handle the scene, also treat the victims. Preliminarily, at this time, we know there's a total of 5 victims, ages 18 to 22. We believe all have non-life-threatening injuries at this time. There were 4 males and 1 female. All victims are being treated and transported by first responders as first responders heard the shots, and all appear to be gunshot wounds. At the same time, we have now learned that multiple windows shattered and made our officers believe possibly we had an active shooter. So we immediately put our emergency response for an active shooter in place. The area was cordoned off. We set up a command post. Officers basically went to the different buildings. We secured several areas. BPD SWAT, along with members from our federal, local, and other jurisdictions, came to assist us as we cleared the buildings to make sure we did not have an active shooter. We did not locate the suspect at this time. The scene remains active, and we are working alongside our many federal law enforcement partners to piece together everything that exactly happened. Right now, our thoughts and prayers are with these victims, their families, our Morgan community, and our city. BPD and Morgan State University officials are asking concerned family members to continue to avoid the campus area. Family members may report to the Safeway parking lot located at 4401 Hartford Road. A BPD officer is on scene to assist the families. I want to make very clear that we are still investigating and the details are very preliminary at this point. Anyone with information related to this incident is asked to call 911 or Metro Crime Stoppers at 1-866-7-LOCK-UP. At this time, I'll turn it over to Morgan State University Police Chief Hatcher.
Thank you, sir. Good morning. As Commissioner Worley stated, Morgan State University police officers were on routine patrol on the campus when they heard discharges from a firearm. They quickly responded to the area, located several victims, and rendered aid. As we know it now, 4 of the 5 individuals that suffered injury are Morgan students. We would like to thank our local partners, federal and state, for responding to this incident and helping us to manage and resolve this issue. I'm going to turn it over to Morgan State University President, Dr. Wilson.
Good morning. First of all, I would like to thank Mayor Scott, the Baltimore City Police, for working seamlessly with the Morgan State University Police to get on the scene quickly here and investigate the matter at hand. I also want to express appreciation to Governor Moore for reaching out to me to ensure that if we needed additional resources from the state, that those resources would also be available. I attended this evening the coronation of Mr. and Miss Morgan State University. It was a beautiful event in our Murphy Fine Arts Auditorium, almost filled to capacity. This is a ritualistic event on the campus of Morgan State University at the commencing of homecoming week. And we typically have parents coming from all over the state, all over the United States, to witness their sons and daughters taking part in being crowned Mr. and Miss whatever organization they're representing. This was an unbelievably beautiful event this evening, and our students at the end of that were headed over to the Student Center to rejoice and to enjoy themselves when this unfortunate situation erupted on the campus. Since that time, I have met with our students. I have met with parents. I have escorted them to their residential halls. I have ensured that they will get to where they need to go for the rest of the evening. I can also say that I have canceled classes here at Morgan for tomorrow, and we will be assessing what will happen for the rest of the homecoming week as early as tomorrow morning, and will duly inform you and others of any decisions that we make in that regard.
Thank you, Dr. Wilson. Good morning, everyone. This morning, the entire city of Baltimore's heart aches for the Morgan community, for these victims and their families, and for our city as a whole. This unfortunate and unacceptable tragedy joins, as we know, a long line of colleges and schools around this country that have seen incidents like this. And it showcases again for all of us as we thank the women and men of Morgan State Police, BPD, fire, everyone that responded heroically out to this scene. But it reminds us all, again, that we are dealing with not just here in Baltimore, not just at Morgan State University, but across this country of the United States, a epidemic when it comes to guns and gun violence. And it's time for us to get serious about that, not just at the local level where we've recovered over 2,100 guns, but at the national level. We have to stop saying not one more. We need action now. There are things that can be done, particularly at the level of Congress, that could help stop the next shooting on a campus, at a church, at a supermarket from happening. And when is enough going to be enough? When will the sanctity of American lives and the sanctity of American college students and students to get their education outweigh the sanctity of American guns? That's where my anger is tonight, because my anger is with the people that pulled that trigger. And we're going to work alongside Morgan State and everyone else to track down these people and hold them accountable. But we also have to talk about the accountability for every single solitary person and system around how people who clearly do not have the mental capacity to have a gun ended up with it in their hand. How are we going to consistently see this over and over and over again and think that the status quo around guns in our country and our communities is okay? Because it's not okay. It's not okay for it to happen at Morgan. It's not okay for it to happen on our streets. It's not okay for it to happen anywhere in a country that prides itself in being the leader of the free world. We're talking about epidemics of gun violence and mental health that have to be addressed. We're going to continue to do our part here locally. Our police officers, everybody that involved in reducing violence here in Baltimore, from our community violence intervention workers, are going to do their part. But we need to see national action, especially from Congress, because we know that we can stop these, is whether we have the courage to do so. But we're going to continue to be here to support Morgan State University, as I call it, Baltimore's university, because we know we are very proud. We are Morgan proud, and we're going to be here to support this school, their community, and their families through this tragedy. But for those who decide to come on this jewel of a campus and inflict this pain and trauma on their community, we're going to find you. We won't stop. Turn yourself in, because we are not going to tolerate that happening here or anywhere else. Thank you.
All right, so at this time, we're going to take questions. I'm going to call out our local outlets first, and then if there's anyone that I missed, you can just let me know. So we're going to start with Leah at the AP.
Okay, how many shooters and where exactly on campus did it happen?
That's still part of the ongoing investigation that we can't release that right now.
Okay, someone tweeted they thought 3 shooters. Is that not confirmed?
We can't confirm any of that right now.
Okay. All right, Hugo Banner.
Can you confirm more than one?
No, we can't confirm.
Baltimore Sun.
No,
Yep.
no arrests.
No.
So, no arrests have been made. You said you haven't located the suspect. We've seen campus sort of open back up in the last couple hours. Can you explain how you made that decision without locating the suspect to, I don't know if lifting the lockdown or lifting the shelter in place is the right phrase, but yeah, how did you decide to open campus back up?
It was a decision that we all came together to make, but what we didn't open the campus up until our SWAT team had cleared the building where we thought the suspect may have ran or where we thought the shot came from. They cleared every single floor twice. And after that, we realized the campus was most likely safe, and we opened it back up because the shooter was nowhere around that we could find.
And that was Thurgood Marshall.
WJZ.
Over here. Where exactly did the shooting take place? Was it inside the building? Was it outside the building?
It was outside.
Okay, thank you.
All right, WBAL.
This is for the university. We're just wondering about the notification system. We've heard a lot from parents and kids who have been leaving, students. They were saying it took a while to get notified about this. Can you share how long it took so we can find out what are the facts behind that?
Yes. We received a call at approximately 9:27, I believe, and the first alert went out at 9:30. There were approximately 4 additional alerts that went out subsequent to the first alert.
All right, Channel 2.
So this is the university president. First of all, how does the university move forward from this? Second of all, for the students specifically, just from my conversations with them, it's been a very traumatic thing. What kind of resources will be available for them moving forward?
This is a very tragic incident on the campus of the National Treasure Morgan State University. By no means will it define who we are as a university. Morgan is an anchor institution in Baltimore City. We are one of the top institutions in the United States. We are a fast growing institution. We are a very consequential institution. And it is unfortunate that this tragedy happened here tonight. We do understand that our university community is traumatized by it. And as such, we are moving forward to cancel classes on tomorrow, number one. But we also have in place 24/7 counseling services. And I met with the students tonight. They are availing themselves of those services. We are deploying counselors tomorrow in person to Thurgood Marshall, and they'll be there as well to provide ongoing counseling support to our students. And so Morgan State University will not be deterred. We will move forward. We will continue our momentum here at Morgan, but it is indeed a very, very unfortunate situation that would have us standing here tonight talking about students being injured and their parents actually suffering. My son came to Morgan, and I know what it is like, to have a child off in college. And so we are communicative to all of our communities, but Morgan State University, rest assured, is going to move forward and would not be deterred in our momentum here.
We have 5:45.
Yes, this is for the mayor. Mr. Mayor, thank you for being with us. Now, this is a national story, as you know. I got phone calls from friends from Atlanta, Florida, national story. This is the most recent of several violent incidents recently in the city. What do you say to the people across the country about that? We're on an outstanding university campus, beautiful Baltimore, homecoming this weekend. What do you say about the city?
What I say to my people around the country is what I just said, Keith, that this is not just a Baltimore thing. And when you live in a city and you live in any city in this country right now, anybody, any mayor in any city will tell you that we have a national problem with guns in the hands of people that should not have them, and we have to handle it in a national way. I could sit here tonight and tell you, as you very well know, because you and I talk about it almost every day, that we are a city that is actually seeing a decrease in homicides and shootings. But that doesn't matter tonight because we have kids at college who were shot. And this happens time and time again, not just in Baltimore, but in Washington, D.C., in New York, in Atlanta, in city after city after city after city. And it's been happening that way for decades. And we have to deal with this issue nationally. It has to be done. The same way that we got serious about people dying from cigarette cancer, the same way that we got serious about people dying in car accidents and we mandated seatbelts, we have to get serious about guns. Have to. Or if not, we're going to continue to have this same conversation over and over and over again. As I said to you before, I was in 9th grade, right down the street at Maryville High School when Columbine happened. And we heard then, not one more. How many have happened since? And there's been little to no action at the national level.
We have Afro right here.
Hello, this is for President Wilson. I'm interested to know, with it being homecoming week and there's an influx of activities as well as possible visitors on campus, what security measures were taken before the event?
Before the incident, we had a security plan in place for the rest of homecoming week. We actually got a briefing on that today in my cabinet meeting. But on tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, I will be having an emergency meeting of my executive team, and we will be assessing and reassessing homecoming week activities here at Morgan.
Do we have a representative here from the Morgan spokes? Thank you.
Hi, this is for Chief Hatcher. This is the third consecutive year we've had a shooting during homecoming week and homecoming celebrations on Morgan State campus, despite the increase in quote-unquote security measures here at the university. What do you say to students who are unsafe and don't feel comfortable going to class, nonetheless celebrating their university during this time?
First, I'd like to say that we take their safety very, very seriously, and we do everything humanly possible to ensure their safety. So we've taken extraordinary measures to bring additional security resources to campus. Unfortunately, individuals respond to campus and act poorly. So even though we take extraordinary measures to increase policing, increase our camera coverage, increase different technologies that we have deployed across campus, oftentimes you can't stop a bad actor from doing bad acts, but we will continue to try to ensure the safety of our students and be very successful doing that.
Any outlets missed? All right, thank you guys. Just so everyone knows, this is live stream on BPD's Facebook page, so you will be able to get all the audio specifically on there.
We've just been listening to this news conference more than 4 hours after this shooting incident on the campus of Morgan State University. We heard from Police Commissioner Richard Worley, the Morgan State University Police Chief Lance Hatcher, Dr. David Wilson, the president of Morgan State University, and Mayor Brandon Scott. The news conference started with the police commissioner updating the number of victims. 5 people shot, ages 18 to 22, 4 men, 1 woman, and we understand 1 woman. We understand that 1 person is not a student, but 4 victims, students, right now at Morgan State University.
They do not have a suspect in custody. They do not. They're asking people with information to contact Baltimore Police and Metro Crime Stoppers. And even though they do not have a suspect in custody, the shelter-in-place order has been lifted. The school will be evaluating moving forward with homecoming, which began in earnest today. The president of the university, David Wilson, Dr. David Wilson, said that they will not have classes tomorrow. They will have counseling available 24/7. And he said, by no means will this define who we are.
That's right. And on the decision to open up the campus, the police commissioner, Richard Worley, said that the SWAT team cleared each floor of the building they believed that the shooting suspect ran into after this incident that injured 5 people, ages 18 to 22, 4 men, 1 woman, shooting around 9:25 on the campus of Morgan State University.
And before we go, we want to also add that the mayor really used this moment to make a national plea for gun control. As he said, his heart, the heart of Baltimore collectively aches for Morgan and the Morgan community, and said, across the country, there's an epidemic of guns and gun violence. And he said, we need action now.
And speaking of action, Dr. David Wilson says that they will determine what kind of action they take for the rest of homecoming week, because this is homecoming week. So we will leave you with that. We've been covering this for the past 4 hours, a shooting on the campus of Morgan State University. News conference just wrapping up just a few minutes ago.
And we will continue to follow this and developments about this online, and of course, early this morning, as we continue to follow the story of what happened at Morgan State University. Thank you for joining us. Good night.